Happy Monday, everybody. It's the beginning of the week, but at least we're spending it together. It's live stream time, and today we're going to be making political maps. I'm super stoked about this. Political maps are super fun to make. They're cool and they're useful, and they can really just add a little bit of flavor to your campaign. So it's always nice to add a little extra fun map in there. Hey, HD White Eye, welcome. Glad to have you here. Welcome, welcome, awesome. So political maps are on the agenda today. Super exciting. Now, for those of you who have their own world maps, you should go ahead and kind of make a clone of a map that you would like to make political. So if you have a map in the world that's Fantasy World, Parchment World, Fantasy Regional, and you want to turn that map into a political map, your world map into a political map, go ahead and clone that map right now. Clone it. And then open it up and you can follow it along. If you don't have a map that you would like to try doing political maps, following along, you can go ahead and just clone and edit this map. I'll copy the link and put it in the chat. So if you want to follow along, clone this map. All right, I'll go ahead and put that in the chat. There you are. So go ahead and clone and edit that map. If you want to follow along with this particular map, if you have your own, that's fine. Just go ahead and clone that, okay? So go ahead and set that up. I'm going to go ahead and open this up real quick. I'm going to edit the map. Hey, King Clown. Your Royal Majesty, welcome. It's nice to have you here with us today. Yay, political map time. Yeah, I'm going to open up this map that we've kind of used in past streams. I'm just going to wait for a few moments to people filter in, and I want people to be able to follow along. So again, clone the map in the map link that I provided to you in the chat, or clone one of your own world maps and then save it and relabel it political map. And we'll show you how to actually make political maps from your actual map. So it's up to you. Okay. All right. So I've used this map. We used it in a previous stream. Some fun names in there. We all got a giggle. Forever One was here. Blunder Hills. Anchor's Hub. Some fun names in here, but we're going to turn this into a political map. All right. So one of the first things that you want to do is to select every single thing on the map and just group it. And then you're going to rename it, and you just click this little rename group. It's a pencil icon, and just call it everything. Okay, so now that you've grouped every single thing on your map and you've labeled it everything, looks like I got 9,694 objects in this group, and you've labeled it. Now, what you're going to want to do is to paint. For me, there's a couple options here. If you're already working with a map and you want to designate the lines, and you want to probably not make this group completely invisible, because you might want to use them as a guide to determine where your countries are. And so once you've grouped everything, you can drop the opacity on it. So you can go over to your opacity slider bar and bring it down quite a bit. There you go. And you have the opacity all the way down. And so everything is still there, but it's obviously been dropped. The opacity has been dropped in that group. And it kind of looks interesting too, right? It's kind of faded out. Now you might want to also delete all your text. For sure you're going to want to do that. Let's go back in that group. If you go open the group, then go to edit group, click all to turn everything off, and then text. You can now select everything of the text, and you can just delete it. I'm going to delete all my text because I don't need all the text, because what I want is my political names and stuff to be on there. All right. Now, for those of you who don't know what a political map is just to designate certain areas that are controlled, like nation states, countries. It could be an empire, which is a collection of nation states, like controlled by a major figurehead. It could be a republic. It could be some form of a democracy, but whatever it is, your political map is designed to show the boundaries of those nation states or empires or whatever. And also you want to show things like the capital city and maybe some notable large cities. Now, what exactly, if you're wondering, like, what do you use? Like, how do you know what to do with your political map? And that can be confusing. But I mean, the political map is just to show, again, the various nation states, the governing bodies that control those territories and stuff like that. Now, I'm also going to go in and remove all this landscape right here. I'm just going to go in with my add mode of the mask tool. Probably should have prepped that before, but hey, it happens, right? So go here and add this in. And there are a couple ways that you can go about doing a political map. The beauty of political maps is there's a lot of different styles that you can go about doing it. I'm only going to show you one in this stream, but don't limit yourself. There's a lot of different ways to do this, and it works with any map. So I'm just going to remove all this. One of the things with political maps is you don't really need to show the geography of a political map because it's political. You're showing political lines, the boundaries, these kind of things. You're not showing geography. So you don't even need to have geography at all. The only reason why I'm having you keep all your stamps and grouping them like this is just in case you need them as a guide to determine where your boundaries are. So that's basically that. Hey, welcome Nemron. Glad you're here. All right. Hope people are following along. So I've just really, if you don't need this, if you already know where all your political lines are, you can just go ahead and delete everything. You don't need to have it there. Or you can keep it because it's faded out like this. The emphasis is on the borders instead, but you can still faintly see the geography in the background. Maybe that's cool with you too, right? Because it does look interesting that it's kind of faded out. The geography is still there. But you don't have to do that too, right? You can just go ahead and just delete it all. And you only want to maybe put focus on particular things. Like you only want to put major focus on the political boundaries and stuff. And you don't want any geography at all. So it's up to you. Lots of different ways to go about doing it. Ooh, looks like I am lagging a little bit. Forgive me. All right. Oops. A lot of lag. Must be because the map is in 3K. Oh wow, it is just completely out. All right, well, I'll have to go out. Sorry about that. Let's go ahead and open up. Sorry about that. Not sure what's going on there. Just bear with me while I open up. Just some serious lag here. Oops. Thank you for bearing with me, folks. We'll go back into the political map. I'm going to edit it. Okay. First time chat. Bobber the best Q. Thank you. I appreciate the understanding. I'm glad it's only minimal. I'm glad that you're here, by the way. First time chatter. Welcome, welcome. Love when new folks, new faces are in the chat. I like it. The more, the merrier. It's Monday, folks. You know, and if you're going to have a Monday, enjoy it with people, right? With the cool people, right? So I'm just going to select every single thing on the map. I'm going to delete it because I don't even need it. Not at all. It's not important. So I'm just going to remove that. Okay, let's go ahead and go in and I'll try to fix the add mode of the mask tool. I'm going to fill this in. I don't want this here. Again, you can keep your geography on your map. Just make sure that you drop the opacity or drop the contrast way down. Because this is parchment, with parchment maps, even if you drop the opacity, the clipping masks still show. So if you're doing a fantasy regional or fantasy world style, when you group everything, make sure that you, instead of dropping the opacity, just bring down the contrast. Okay, that's going to be in your advanced settings, in the group settings, or the advanced settings. So I'll show you real quick. Let me put a couple together. So if I have this stamp right here, you'll notice that there is a setting in advanced settings called contrast. And what it does is just completely kind of dulling out the line work. And so that will also work just fine if you want to do it that way. Okay, so up to you. Lots of different options. Hello, Lai-sana. Welcome, glad that you are here. Yes, more new faces. I absolutely love it. Fantastic. Okay, all right. Now, once you've kind of deleted everything or dropped the contrast or what opacity or whatever your method is, you're going to want to paint the entire map, the landscape, probably a brighter color. And the reason why I recommend a bright white or an off eggshell white, that kind of color, is because your political boundaries are going to be colored, right? And so you want those to pop out. If you've got a green background and you have a green political border, the political border is not going to pop out, right? So we're going to think about contrast when we're wanting to do that. So there are a couple options about doing that. There's this off color right here. This color works just fine. We can use this one. Oopsie, that's an interesting, fun little bug. Whee! Get some spots right there. I love it. Hey everybody, I just wanted to showcase this to you. Oh yeah, lots of people in. Yeah. I am here to make things super odd, okay? That's my job. I'm an awkward fellow, what can I say? Alright, so we're gonna save the map, refresh. I think that was just some random bug right there. Thank you for bearing with me. Appreciate it. And paint all of your FG layer an off-white eggshell. Again, because what we're going to do is we're going to use the path tool and the shadows of the path tool to create our borders, and we're going to be flattening them as well. All right. Ooh. All right. Just taking a minute to load. Yep, that was just a weird buggy. Okay. Now, let's talk about political boundaries, okay? So when it comes to political boundaries, what I like to do first is set the first boundary, which is going to be this dashed line, okay? That dashed line is going to represent that first boundary. So 1 second while I drop the opacity and get the width that I want. When working with a path tool, you just put a path down first, and then you can deal with it live. So we'll go down like this. There we go. So now I have that path that I want. Perfect. I can delete. Now I'm going to go ahead and pick the boundaries. Now, if you already have your topography and it's set to a lower opacity or contrast, make sure that you follow the lines around the topography where you want. Now, most political borders are generally created by rivers, mountain ranges, natural formations that create an actual natural divide. So most of your borders, again, are going to be along rivers and mountain ranges, along the coastlines, things like that. Is it, great question right here. Let me ask this. Is it possible to create enclosed areas with color rather than just coloring the path border? Actually, I'm going to be showing you a couple tricks. So follow along, Rogue 13, and you will find out. Absolutely, I promise you. I will help you out. Okay, so now, again, follow rivers, mountain ranges, coastlines. All right? Now, generally, the size of your nation state somewhat is determined by what kind of government structure it is, right? So if you have an empire is a political organization, groups that take over other nations and incorporate them into their own, steal their natural resources and stuff like that. So that's what an empire does. So an empire would probably be a little bit larger than, per se, a small republic, a democratic republic, things like that. So the size of your nation states and the size of maybe other formations is determined on what it is. So again, an empire would be much larger. Let's start with first enclosing off the smaller section. So I have this really weird kind of horn right here. It's called a horn. And it's a nice shape. You kind of have an inlet or a bay right here. This works kind of nice. And so I'm just going to make this horn right here its own nation state. And I'll let people decide the titles of the nation states, okay? Including the capitals and the cities. I'll have you guys decide all that stuff. So first, now with making your borders, if they are following a river or a mountain range, you're going to expect the borders to not be straight lines, right? Because a river is not a straight line, right? So when you're doing your political borders, I recommend putting a little bit of meandering in it or a little bit of S-curves into it, and I'll show you how I go about doing that. So let's just assume that maybe there's a mountain range right here, and we're going to go in like this and add in maybe a sliver right here. So you have this nice border right here. Now this is the first step. We've made this section right here the first nation. Now you want to also decide the color of the nation. That means what color you want to decide it to be. So let's say I want this one to be red, okay? First things first, you're going to change your path to a straight line. You're going to pick a color, and I recommend picking a color that's in this palette right here so you'll never forget it. Or if you do use it, make sure that you have it memorized. And the information is right here. The hex information RGBA. So whatever color you're using, just in case you have to redo a section or whatever, make sure you memorize the color information, whether you take a screenshot or write it down, whatever it is, make sure you remember that color information just in case, because there's no favoriting a color in a path. You can do that with colors and textures with the paintbrush tool, but you can't do that with paths, okay? So once you've done that, you also want to include a red shadow. So we're going to bring the blur out quite a bit, all the way out. I'm going to put one down real first, just to see how the shadow looks. So let me go out all the way. Got this red shadow. Let me see here, right about, I think there. Let's go to blur as well. Now it's blurred. Make sure you blur it, and let's increase the shadow size. Let's go up a little bit more here. That looks fine. Okay, now that you've done that, let's also increase the size. There we go. Okay. Now that you've done that, you can go line all the way around the political or around the landscape like this, okay? So go around the landscape. You can do it in a single stroke or multiple strokes. It's up to you. Okay, now if you're worried about the red line going over into the ocean, don't worry about that. We're going to flatten it, and I'll show you how that works, okay? So let's just keep going all the way around. You can take a little break, give your hand a rest for a second, then just go back right where you left off and keep going. You don't have to do it all in a single stroke. Okay, let's say these islands are, oopsie, let's undo that. Let's say these islands are also controlled by this republic. So let's also put in those paths. There we go. And we're just going to keep going all the way around. And what's really nice is just use the land formation as your guide, okay? Just follow the line all the way around, go up. This is the second step. Okay, there we go. All right, okay, you can stop right there. Now I'm going to bring the width up all the way to 5. So it's nice and big. I'm going to go like this, right across. Boom. Okay. There's step 1. Okay, you've got your red boundary there. Next step is to paint in the whole thing red. Now I memorized the color. It just goes all the way into the corner. I'm going to bring the softness all the way to 0, and I'm going to drop the opacity to say, let's say 30. Okay. And I'm going to bring the size down for a reason, because I'm going to be painting in this whole section this color. Now this is going to have to be one stroke. It's at 30%. If you don't do this in one stroke, let me give an example. If I go like this and then this, you'll notice that it crosses over. Okay, so you have to do this part in a single stroke. Now if you don't want to do that, let me take a look. It doesn't look like you can HSBC colors, so you'll have to just drop the transparency to 3 or 30, and we're going to paint in that whole section. And in fact, that's even too much. Let's bring it down to maybe, let's go to 15 to see how that looks. There we go, perfect. Remember, fill in the whole thing. It's only this part you have to worry about, because it will only be set to the FG layer. Okay, let's fill in the whole thing. Remember, one stroke, don't let go. Fill in that whole section. Okay, Now that section is done. Okay, now you're not going to do any flattening until later. Okay, because if you were flatten now and I was working on this other section, I would paint over that path. You're not going to do any flattening until later. So we're going to do this to each section, this technique for each one. Okay, now that we've done that one, let's create a larger empire. Let's create a much larger one. Oopsie, I did not mean to do that. My mistake. There we go. Hope people can see the screen okay. My mistake. All right. Let's take a look here. All right. Let's keep going here. All right. Oopsie, that bar should not be showing there. Let me fix that real quick. Thanks for bearing with me. Okay. Now we've done that section. Let's go ahead and do that next one. So again, use that dotted path. It's right there. I'm just going to copy paste it. I'm going to put it over here so that way I can select it. And every time I select it, I'll have that same path and settings. Okay. So let's create the larger empire. Now the larger empire can take up a large swath. Okay. You could say that it takes up much of this landmass here. It could even take up much of this horn, this out bay here, and much of this part right here. Maybe there's just this sliver on this horn right here belongs to another maybe nation state. So let's do that. Okay. Now, if you don't know which countries and nation states, if you don't know which nation states, which countries to put into your political map, it's not hard to figure out. It's the ones that are going to have the most interaction with your players. Okay. If it's just a side story, if one of the nations is a side story or whatever, you don't have to worry about including that into the map. Okay, so if you have a campaign and the most important part of the campaign is taking place in maybe these countries, maybe these are the major players, then those are the nations you're going to want to include. Okay, if you have nations that are maybe just there for backstory, you don't have to include them in the map. It's really up to you. Hey, Philip, I am so glad you're here. Okay, let's go ahead and make that next political border. I'm going to actually make this horn right here belong to another nation state. Let's go ahead and do some crazy little loops and stuff right here. Let's just say maybe there's a range there or a river or something like that. So we'll put one there. And then let's have a little bit more different shape. One going here and then going up. And I'm going to not create this large section. I'm going to create this kind of wavy shapes. We'll have it stop against there like that. Okay. So this section right here is going to be our empire. And we can pick the color. Anyone have a preference on color? Purple, green, blue, yellow? Oh, excuse me, burp color? I mean, anyone got a preference? Please let me know. What color will this empire be? Threatening that poor republic. Orange. Well, well, Gwenphil got there closest. Oh, well, now we're 2 with blue. Ooh, it's up to a vote now. We've got blue, blue, blue. Oh, it looks like blue. Sorry, Gwenphil. Next one will be orange, okay? I promise. Next one will be orange. So we're going to stick with blue. Again, with the paths, I would just select the path, a red path, and then put it down like this. And now you can go in and change the color. Now, if it's going to be blue, remember to pick a blue that you remember. All right. So if I want, I'm just going to go all the way into the corner, that blue there. And I'm going to go again, click the blue that's in this, the swatches, go to the blue all the way in the corner. Blue and red is very basic, but don't worry, we're going to throw an orange in there. Don't you worry, my friend. You will not be forgotten, I promise. All right, so let's throw in our blue path here and just go along the edges just like this. You can throw it, you can even overlap the other side. Just make sure it doesn't go over the blue. Make sure it doesn't go over the red, okay? So you see that's got together. Now this is going to take a little bit longer because we have to fill in the whole section. So we're going to go over the whole edge here. And this is really as simple as the process gets. I mean, these first 2 steps are pretty simple stuff. Okay, we'll get into the other steps shortly. And we're also going to do a map frame because you want to know something? If it's a political map, I think a frame looks nice. Because sometimes it's hard to tell, like, when should I put a frame on my map, right? Well, I think the most obvious ones are like world maps, political maps, a cosmology map, a planes map, like your magical planes. Those kind of maps I would kind of expect to have a frame, right? Because there's a little, those maps are kind of the backstory. They tell some stories, things like that. So those are really the kind of maps that I like to put map frames on. So we will be doing that, but we'll do a map frame later. I wanted to focus on the political part because that is indeed the strain. And in fact, I think I'll push this all the way up to 5, the highest width. There we go, which is fine. All right. And we're gonna go all the way around. And again, just go right over the dashed path line. There we go. We'll give the arm a rest for a second. Okay, then go right back to it again. Now, when it comes to like these little tiny islands and stuff, you don't even have to worry about it. Don't worry about these little tiny islands that are lying around. They're so small that the blue path will just envelop them, and it's just going to end up looking blue. So don't even bother with that. Just do the major sections, okay? And if there are sections of your map that aren't political, then you can keep the geography there. And that way you have some geography. Because sometimes with a map, you want to have a little bit of everything. You want geography plus political. So let's say there's a section on the map that's doesn't controlled by a nation state, a neutral zone, like this section right here. You could keep the geography on this island and don't put any political borders around it. You could just say that this nation, this island, whatever, is not involved in the overall conflicts or involved in the story of these political maps. So that way you get to keep some of your geography as well. So it's up to you how you want to go about doing that. So let's just continue this. We're almost there. Da, 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 doing the blue. All right, there we go. Keep going. Almost there. Yay! This is the path that never ends. All right, I'm going to stop right here for a sec. There we go. We're going to continue going over this, and then we will be ready to paint it in with that blue at 10%. Okay, there we go. Boop, boop, boop. All right. Sweet. Now, let's go in with the blue. All the way in. There we go. To keep the paths, group them differently from future editing. Well, I mean, you're going to end up flattening these because, as you can see, there's a red line going on the outside. And me personally, I don't care much for that red. Like, if you're looking closely, you'll see how it's red like that on the outside. I don't care for that. So I'll end up flattening this. Now, if you want to keep it for future maps to change colors, then I would just recommend just making a clone of your, like if you have maybe a storyboard where an empire takes over another nation state, a nation state gains an alliance with another state, or they merge to become a larger nation state, then if you want to change the color of those paths, yeah, absolutely. I would just clone the map and then have one clone that has the flattened paths and another one. So it's up to you, really. Maybe you even like the blue path or the blue or red on the outside. Me personally, I don't. So, and that's just a matter of personal preference. So let's go back. I think 15 was it? Let me just double check. Yeah, that works fine. Okay, let's bring the size a little bit higher this time because it is fairly large space. And remember, do not let go. So let's go ahead and fill this in if I can without going over. Don't want to go into these other sections. Yikes, can I make it? There we go. Sweet. And so, you know, what's really nice about this is you have this dark blue or dark outline with a light color in the center. So it really causes those borders to pop out. And I really like that. That looks really nice. And we'll do more painting too, because we're going to end up painting the center of these kind of that off eggshell white color as well. And the reason why we're going to do that is so that the text that labels the nation state will pop out. But we'll do that later. Let's keep with this. Okay. Oopsie, I missed a spot just right there. Yikes! Oh no! What a poo-poo! Okay, now I promised that there would be the orange. And you know what? We're gonna make one that's a decent size orange because I think it's just fair that we didn't do that. So let's have orange right here. And you could even say that this is an ally, or could be even be the same country. I don't really know. Up to you. We can change them. You know, you can have as many colors as you want, as many nation states or countries as you like. Now I've already done the path that separates this from the other nation, so that's great. So I don't have to worry about doing that. But I do want to select a path again, and I probably want to change the color, right? So let's go with the orange. Let me just pull that down, go up to color. I'm going to pick the orange right from, let's pick this brighter orange. And I'm going to go all the way up in the corner here. Same thing here. Pick that orange right out of the palette, bring it all the way up. And I think that one's a little bit darker. There we go. So now we have orange, and we're going to bring the width all the way up to 5. Perfect. Okay. Or it's occupied by the Empire. You evil empires. Nimrod, you're awesome. Okay. Next section. You see, we just keep going. And this one's a little bit smaller, so that's nice, right? Now, it's a little time consuming, but hey, it happens. All right. I mean, you could just color in, just showing you one style. Just, you know, if you don't want to take the time to use the paths, then you don't have to use paths. You can just paint in each one the color you want. But I'm doing a technique I like because I personally like the outline against the more opaque color in the center. That's just my personal choice. But if you wanted to, you can just completely avoid the colored paths. Just do the dashed paths and then just fill them in with whatever color you want, okay? And they don't have to be at a lower opacity. There's so many different ways to do political maps. I just wanted to show you the way that I like them. But you can avoid, if you don't have the time, you don't want to do all the paths, you don't have to. It's up to you, okay? So just kind of keep that in mind, that it's just up to you and how much time you have. I know some of you might be private contractors and you're, you know, you're on a time frame. You've got to get this map to a client within a couple of days or poo. So, you know, it's all right. Just do the method that works best for you. You know, just painting them their colors with the dashed paths looks just fine. You know, it's not like it's not doable. There are tons of political maps in real life where they're just like that, just plain colors, and there's no special outline or anything like that. Okay, let's keep going. We're almost there. All right, and again, we're going to want to paint in the center, right? So let's go back to this. Pick the orange color. It should be at 15. Let me just verify. Let's bring it up more. That's pretty light. Let's go up a little bit more. Let's double that. Let's go with, let's go 25. I think that should work just fine. So now we're going to go in like this. And remember, just don't lift it. Don't take it off the page. All right, there we go. And make sure I didn't miss a section up here. Just a hair, but it's okay. All right, is that a little too bright in comparison to the others? I think it's okay. Let me just verify. Yeah, I think that's fine. Okay, it almost looks more yellow than orange, doesn't it? That's right. It's a raiding party. Hey, first time chatters, tons of good people. Yeah. Whee. Okay. Yeah, it's yellow. No, I'm a silly butt. No, we need to get the orange in there. Well, don't worry. We'll throw in an orange one right here. Let's go with a kind of a dark orange. There we go. There we go. There we go. Why'd you do yellow for, silly man? Well, I will fix that. Don't you worry. Let's get the orange going, shall we? Well, what's going on here? There we go. That looks good to me. Let's also make that border orange as well. I might have to increase the opacity. Is it still that same color? Let's bring the opacity up a little bit on this to really get it to be more orangish color, I think. Awesome, there we go. Political maps, T-Day Pod, welcome. Political maps, the way to go. All right, let's keep doing this. Let's do this corner, do this little section here. We'll do this main landmass, and then I won't worry about the top parts because we've done the majority of it. And I'm going to show you the next sections because you could add so many. So we're not going to worry about doing every single one. So let's go in, go around the edges here. Again, you don't have to use the path tool. You can totally just paint it in whatever freaking color you want. You know, just make it random. Spin the color wheel and just pick some random colors. Okay, and we'll go over here. All right, and we already have that orange color set up. Perfect. All right, there's that orange color. Let me apply it. Let me put it back down to 15 real quick. Let me just verify that's right. Whoa, that is not 15, but that definitely pops out now, doesn't it? Is there something different about this particular location? Let me just put one swipe down. Nope, we can bring it up, I think, a little bit more. Let's take it to 17. Yeah, that works just fine. Ah, the orange. Yeah, we definitely want to be orange. There we go. I did that yellow color. It's like a little yellow snow section over there. I goofed up there. We wanted orange. How did I screw that up? Naughty person. Super orange. Supercharged. Okay, let's go ahead and save. Super orange. Yeah, so that whole landmass now does have all the different nations. The Tang Nation attacked. I am here to serve. I am a humble map-making servant, here to help you. 'Tis my occupation, my fate. Hey, Phoenix Curie. Could you also use a black, or would it work as well with other colors? Could you also use black? Sure you can. Of course you can. It's probably called the Gwenlands. The orange one is the Gwenlands. Don't worry. We're going to get to the labeling, and I promise you, we will put that in there, okay? And it's going to be fun. Okay, so part 2. So the first part was basically doing your line work for all this stuff, okay? Now the next step is to maybe throw in some regions, okay? Now you don't have to do this, but there's something called regions or provinces, or if it's a country, there might be states, like a confederacy of some kind of different states. It could be a single empire with no different states within it. It could just be one consolidated land without little tiny provinces. Though most large empires probably had provinces, so you could create provincial governments for administration, for taxes, and things like that. So most of the time there would be regions. Okay, now if a country is super small, they probably don't need to have a lot of regions in it. But if you have like a nation state or a large country, you're probably going to want to put in some regions. Now, before I do regions, let's do the labeling. And I'm going to pick a text that I kind of like. I'll pick Lusitania for now. And I'm going to make the text black. Or you can make it the color that you used in each one. So let's just do that. Let's just use the color used from each one. Let's first go with this one. I believe Gwenthil mentioned the Gwenlands. So let us do that now. Thank you very much. All right, throw it in. Okay, let's make it a little bit darker orange, I think. There we go. I like that color a little bit better, kind of a burnt orange. There we go. There's the Gwenlands. Now, when it comes to labeling, it depends on how large the space you have. Okay, so if I go into spacing like this, it'll get nice and long, like that. Okay, and now you can do curvature for each one if you want, or you don't have to do curvatures. It can be straight. It's up to you. So there's our Gwendolyn's. Anyone have names? Please pick. Just say the color and then the name. So if it's yellow, call it this. If it's red, then do this. So go ahead, people in the chat, and give me your names that you want for each nation state, red, blue, and yellow. The Gwendolyn's is already taken, I'm afraid. It is controlled. Curve is cool, yep. The tangy army of the Tangerine Nation have the sharpest blades. Absolutely, Rogue 13, I absolutely agree. They sharpen their blades on their teeth. They're such bad butts. Oh yeah! Called the blue, the Halavian Empire. Oh, I dig that. Baba, the best Q. I agree. That is a good one. I'm keeping that now. I'm just going to go ahead and copy and paste that right in there. I like that name, by the way. Sweet. So we'll go ahead and add that in there. Nice. Good call, by the way. All right. Let's throw in some text here. Let's throw it in the B. There we have an Empire. Nice, great choice, by the way. Oh, the yellow is the Muir. Oh, I like that name. Good one. Okay. Halvarian Empire. Okay. Now, double lines. Okay. If you have an empire, you might want to consider doing. If you have 2 lines of text, like a Halvarian Empire, you can make it 2 lines of text. You could make it 1 line of text. If you're going to do 2 lines of text, I recommend maybe increasing the line height so that it will take up more space, increasing the spacing, and that way it kind of fits larger. It fits a little bit more into the major space there, like that. So we can go ahead and keep that. Gwendolyn's, the Halvarian Empire. I'm not going to curve it. It's so big that I don't think curving is needed, but the space inside this one is so small. Totally do that. Oh, the red Inkarnate states. Let's go ahead and do the Muir. Good choice, by the way. I like that, TV Pod. Let's go ahead and do that. The Muir. Okay, and we'll go ahead and pick in a darker kind of yellow, kind of a mustardy. This is a kind of a gray poupon color, you know? It's a gray poupon. It is Muir, the gray poupon country. Known for their delicious ripe bananas, which have been fertilized by bat guano. Okay, let's do this. Let's maybe increase the spacing a little bit more to fit more of the space. You can go all the way like this, like that, or you can do it straight across like this. It's up to you. The objective is to get it to cover the majority of the space. So maybe we can increase the spacing a little bit and maybe just do a little bit of curve going this way, just a hair. There we go. Yeah. Now if you prefer it to be so it's a little bit more readable, because if it's at an angle like this, you know, you might have to like turn your head and be like, well, that is near, right? It's up to you how you want to label it. Me personally, I don't mind that it's kind of at an angle like this. That's not a big deal for me, okay? I will also angle this just a hair as well, because all of these seem to be at weird angles, so it's kind of odd if this one is at a perfect, 0 degrees, right? So it kind of makes sense to rotate it just a little bit, so that way there's some continuity in the text, right? So that part. Let's go ahead and do the red. We're going to call it the Inkarnate states. Great one. Me like. Inkarnate states. There we go. And we can probably bring the line height down a little bit because it's not much space to work with. So let's go with the red. Let's do that. Okay. Perfect. Inkarnate states. Ooh, and we should bring the spacing down. Well, shoot, that's a super tight squeeze. Let me try going. There we go. That works just fine. Let's take a look at what we've done so far. Right, so we've got the Halvarian Empire, the Gwendolyn's, Mia, and the Inkarnate states. Perfect. I know it's only been 17 changes, but I'm just going to save, okay? Now, once you've labeled, now that you've done that, we're going to keep going. The Inkarnate states is ruled by the tyrant named Mita, or an acronym for Mati. I see through you, Nemrod. What are you trying to say? I'm not a dick. Well, okay, maybe. No. Am I? Yeah. I am not authoritarian. I'm just another cog in the machine. Okay, all right. So, next step, go ahead and select all your text, okay? And make sure the menus pop up. Let's go back, text. I'm gonna select all the text here. And I'm gonna make all the shadows white. Oopsie, that is the, oh no, I didn't mean to do that. Let me undo that real quick. Oh, I love it, dude. Awesome. I just made them the wrong color. Ah, sweet. Life is so good. All right, 1 second. I'll fix this. What did I do that for? I have very big brain. I'm just letting you know. It's huge. It's very big. Very big brain. Just want you to know. All right, sorry. Shadows. That's where it says shadow right there, okay? We're going to make it white. And we're going to bring the blur out. Let me go ahead and zoom in real quick. And the reason why I'm doing this is because I want to have my letters pop out a little bit, right? So that shadow is going to be white. And you can even include a little bit of an outline if you wanted to. You could make it white like this and then bring down the opacity to give it that extra bit of pop, okay? Halvarian Empire, Incarnate States, perfect, there we go. Now, we're going to take that off-white color that we use, that's this color right here, this off-white color, and we're going to bring the opacity to around 25. Let me just verify that real quick. Yeah, okay, that works fine. 25, and then bring the softness all the way up. Let's bring the size to where it can fit over the entire text, okay? First things first, we're going to play a little bit of the game Operation, okay? In Operation, you don't touch any of the edges, otherwise you get a, okay? So now this is the part that requires the hands of a surgeon, someone with incredible stability in their hand, okay? You must have the constitution for this, all right? So anyone likes that Operation game, the objective, do not touch the edge of your borders. What we're trying to do is fill in the center part of it to create a bit more fade. So we'll do one pass. We'll go in like this. This is the first pass, okay? Just don't let go. Go over it like this and make sure you fill it in. Okay, there we go. That looks nice. Let's go ahead and do it again. Let's put another one right here. So you have some nice bright white in there, and then let's bring down the opacity a little bit more and go over to this section. Okay, there we go. All right, let's take a step back. I just want to make sure that these, where the text is, that's where the most white or that off-white is going to be. Don't want it to be perfectly 100%, okay? All right. Okay. So that's the step, right? You're just trying to create a bit even more transition. So the dark blue line here to the light opaque blue all the way into the white, okay, with the colored text going in. And you can just make it black if you want instead of colored. It's up to you. When it comes to color schemes, I will tell you that I like to try to keep with the stroke color. So if my stroke color is black like this, then consider the text maybe being black, okay? Now you don't have to do that, that's up to you, but see if I make it black, now it really pops out and it sticks with the black of the stroke line. See how the stroke line is black? It matches with this, okay? Now you don't have to do that, okay? Me personally, I prefer black over it, but I just wanted to show you that there are different ways, so many different ways to go about doing it, okay? Listen, man, sturgeons don't have hands. They have flippers, okay? They have fins. I love it. That's right. Hey, man, you gotta have that sturgical precision, okay? I love that I have a bit of a crowd here that has a sense of humor. I love that. So now you're just gonna do the same thing to every single one of them. So fill in the white like this. And again, it's just where the text is where you're going to have the most of that off-shell white. Okay, we're going to do that to every single nation state. They did it to the Empire, so let's go ahead and do it to the Gwenlins. I'm just going to go right over the text like this. Go over it again. There we go. Get that nice. Bring the size down because I need to fit inside this section right here. There we go. Okay, now you have a little bit of white there. Let's go and move to the next one. See, look at that. It looks so nice. Really looks like it pops out now, and I really, really like that, okay? So let's go in and do this last section right here. I mean, likes the pop, okay? I like the pop. I can't help it. The pop is nice. Super cool. Thank you, Namrod. I appreciate it. You are too kind, my good friend. By the way, Namrod, I've been loving your recent stuff. Those map frames, that city map was just gorgeous, by the way. I love it. Well done. Bravo. Bravo. Everyone's just been doing so good. So many dang good maps lately. Battle maps, Parchment World, just so many dang good maps out there. I've just been so happy to see everyone's just incredible work. So just a shout out to our incredible community. Hey, the Master Brian Marshall has arrived. Your Majesty, welcome, sir. It is what? How you come here to join us plebs in the map making process? Wait, where are we at? 23 changes. We can probably save. It's always best to save. Oh yeah, Lysana, right? Agreed. Just incredible. Those map frames are just the creme de la creme. Tell you right now, I think I peed a little when I first saw that map. I was like, oh my goodness, that was so beautiful. Oh God, couldn't contain it. All right, so we're gonna save, and then we're gonna move on to the next step. We're gonna do those regions. Okay, sweet, sweet, sweet. Keep going, keep going. All right. Sweetums. All right, okay. So now you have that part done, okay? So next, we're gonna go ahead and create maybe a couple regions, all right? And you can label regions, you can not give them a label. It just depends on the spacing and what you want to show, okay? So let's do a little bit of regions. Let's start with an empire. It's a larger space, so let's go with that, okay? And you don't have to do those colored outlines anymore. As long as it's within that specific nation state, then you don't have to worry about coloring the borders anymore, okay? I mean, you can if you want, if it's individual states with their own state autonomy or provincial governments, and they, you know, maybe work outside of the larger, either a federal or imperial system, sure. But for me, you don't really have to do that. So again, when it comes to regions, just like your nation boundaries, they're going to follow mountain ranges, rivers, other natural formations that act as a natural divides between sections, okay? So exactly the same thing. Let's say that we just want this little horn right here to be its own region. So I'll go in like this with the wrong path. Hey, just do as I do. Do as I say, but not as I do, okay? I love that. Let's go in like this. I'm just going to have this be, it's like a sliver, have this section be its own little section. So there's this nice region here. Let's go ahead and add another region. Let's say this one goes, this is a fairly large one. Now, when it comes to region lines, don't have them go below any text that you have. So if I go like this, you're going to notice that the path goes underneath the text. Now that can be kind of confusing. I don't actually care for that. So instead, what I recommend is just having the path go, stop right there at the text, and then continue on this way. And the reason why I do that is because it won't have another dark line that's conflicting with the dark lines of the text, right? So it's just a way to make it easier for your eye, okay? So now we've done region 1, region 2. Let's maybe make this entire section right here a region. So maybe we'll go down like this and go up. And say that this is a region. Actually, I don't really care for that shape. That looks pooey. I'm not going to have none of that. Naughty now. Okay, let's make a little tiny region right here. So you have a tiny little region right here. Well, right now we're reaching about 2,000 times I've said. Oh, I love it. Does anybody want to keep track of how many times Mattia said the word path? Love it. Okay, let's keep going. There's a question here. What's this? Oh, do you sell maps or can I order maps? You know, you can join our Discord server, and there is a channel that that does requests. I personally don't do requests myself anymore, so that's not part of my job description anymore. But believe me, there's so many good artists out there. You can go to the Inkarnate Discord, join, go to map requests, go in there, or no, I can't remember the name of the channel. I'm sure Philip or someone else will require the link, but go there, pick the artist that you like, and get in contact with them, and they will help you. I guarantee you, there are a lot of good mappers out there. So sorry that I don't currently do them myself. Feel bad about that, but it's just the case currently. So let's keep going. I'm going to keep continuing making more and more sections. I'm going to try not to make them too small, because the smaller the section, the less detail you can put in them. So I'll only make a couple small ones. Let's maybe make a region that's in the heart of it. So you have a nice big region here and a big region here. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and do these to all of them. So let's maybe have another region in Muir. That's this whole section right here. And then this other section can be right here. We'll have this be a region as well. Okay. And then the rest can be a much larger region down at the bottom. The Gwenlands is super small, so I'm not going to worry about adding any larger regions. This one is kind of small as well, so I can maybe throw in a small region, just a small one, like this. There we go. Okay. Right. Okay. So now let's take a look and see how it looks so far. So you can see now that there are these region lines. If you're wondering why there's a random little thingy right here, I'm not saying the word Nimrod. Shh. From now on, I'm going to call these window curtains. Okay? You're going to take your window curtains, and I'm just leaving the window curtain up here at the side so that the next time you select the window curtain, you'll have the same properties of that window curtain. Okay? All right. Just a big jerk face that I am. Okay. Now we've added in all our regions. Now you can label each region if you want. You can label just important regions. Yes, the Curtain Empire. The Empire of lovely folds and drapery. It's our major import. I'm just export. I'm just letting you know. All right, let's push this window curtain to the side so it doesn't get in the way of the other window curtains. All right? All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and grab the text. And what I'm going to do is to distinguish a region from the nation state, I'm going to bring the opacity down quite a bit. So if I bring the opacity down, and then I'm also going to bring the size down and remove the outline, okay? I'm going to bring back all the settings to the regular settings. Now, if people want to come up with region names, that'd be great, okay? So there's a couple regions. Let's look at them all. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are 6 blue regions. If people want to come up with regional names, that's fine. I can come up with some goofiness, because you guys all know that I can't take anything seriously for more than about 10 seconds. So can't be helped, folks. So feel free, come up with some names for these regions. Be funny. Nothing too inappropriate, but inappropriate enough to be funny, okay? So you're going to label each section. And for now, I'm just going to put a question mark in each section. And then while people come up with names, we'll go ahead and fill those in. So please come up with some regional names. I'd love that, because I'm lazy and I want you to do the work for me. Okay? Do the work for me right now. Why would I want to do it? I'm a dictator, remember? The dictator makes everyone else do all the work. Okay? So come up with the names. All right, let's put a question mark in each region. There we go. There we go. Okay. Okay. Oh yeah, you like that? Yeah, I like that too. That is really the trick that I like, because again, you know, if the path is over it, underneath it, it's gonna look weird. And in fact, I'm gonna do another one because you said that. Let's just add another one right here, just for fun. Going through here because I do like that. So let's put another one right here. There you go. Now it's not kind of going over it, and we can add one more label right over here. There we go. Okay. So now you have the region names. Okay. It looks so organic. I know. It's made of delicious fruits. It's organic. I love it. Okay. So now we have that. So I'm going to come up with each regions. I'm just going to call this doo-doo pants because no names so far. So doo-doo pants region, and then exploitation. No, I was kidding. Let's see here. More empire names. Oh, let's call this one not so happy place. Okay. All right. Oh, hey, first time chat. Half Sasid, welcome. Hamlet. Ooh, that's a cool name. I like Hamlet. The Lysana State. Oh, I like that too. Let's call this one Lysana. Yeah. Sweet. I'm cool with it. We will call it by everyone's name. Lysana. I believe this one was called Hamlet. Okay. Sweet. Thank you, everyone, for your help with the names. I appreciate it. Okay, let's go ahead and squeeze this one in here like that so we can fit it in there. Get Lysana in there. This larger section right here. Here we go. Grotto. Oh, I get it. Grotto. Spooks Grotto. Ooh, what a great name. I like it. Let's do that. Spooks Grotto. Okay. All right. All right. Here we go. All right. Do we have more left? Yeah, we do. We've got the Hamlet, which is not how you spell Hamlet, but Hamlet sounds fun, actually. Well, I mean, it is the Curtain Empire, so, I mean, they're going to be doing hems, right? So, of course it's Hamlet, right? Let's do it. The Marshall Dynasty. Yes. Welcome to the Marshall Dynasty. Well, let's do it. Marshall Dynasty it is. There we go. The Marshall Dynasty. And I might have to bring the size down just a pinky bit there because it's a bit too small. There we go. We've got Hamlet, which is actually Hamlet again. It is. We're doing hems here. It is the Empire of Curtains. Come on, get with the program, folks. This is a small one, so we'll give it a small name. Maybe tiered. I'm just going to call it tiered. Okay? Yeah, I know it should have a U in it, but hey, you get the idea, okay? Muir. Let's see here. We'll come up with some more names. Manos. It's a very manly region. Just letting you know. Very manly. I think Manos means hand in Latin. Is it? Manos? Yeah, I think it means hand. So, Zamumbi Mountains. Oh, yeah, but there's no mountains. Remember, it's this political map. It's a region. But I will call it the Mumbiverse. There we go. The Mumbiverse. Right there. That's where that is. Oh, Mumbiverse. Mumbiverse. There we go. Now we're talking. Okay, go up here. Well, let's go with Lease. Just gonna come up with some rando names. Let's just call this one Toe Jam. Toe Jam. There we go. This is at the Toe Jam. Stinky feet are found here. Okay, how many do we have left? There's one more right here. Let's call this Dingy Bob. Dingy Bob is the greatest region to live in. I'm just letting you know. Property is pretty cheap right now in Dingy Bob. Nice place. I mean, you know, tourist season's not so great, but you know, I mean, not a bad place. You know. Okay, Dingy Bob is done. There we go. All the empires. Everyone has the name. Dudu Pants, Lysana. Hamlet or Hamlet. The Gwenlands. All right, sweet. Where are we at? 73 changes. Let's save. Okay. All right. So now that you've done regional sections, you might want to consider maybe adding in some roads, some locations. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to use icons to make the major cities and capitals. Okay. So and we don't have to now when you're making a political map, you don't have to add in every single city and village that's in that nation state or that region. You just want to pick the most important city, like, large population. Maybe it's an important port that for commerce. So knowing what cities to put on your political map really is determined by their size and importance to the empire. Is it a major hub of religion? If it's a evil theocracy, then is this where the capital is? Is this where the major temple is? Is this where the priests live of this empire, this theocratical empire? So when you're thinking about those things, that really determines what kind of locations to put on your map. Again, you don't have to add geological formations. It's a political map. So you only need to think about politics. So really the capital city and the major city, the largest city, that means by population, okay, in each region. Okay, so let's go with that. So there are a lot of different choices when it comes to making cities. Now there's Parchment World, and you'll see that there are these parchment stamps. Now they're brown. I'm not sure how you say it. Brown. I kind of want black because I'm sticking with the same color. You notice here that the text is black, the line work is black, the stroke is black. Okay, so let's go with black. So let's go into the catalog. We're going to go with Fantasy World instead. Okay, Fantasy World has those little cool little icons. Okay, so let's go down, and there should be some icons. Just allow the art to load. Right here's perfect. Okay, now it's up to you. It's up to you. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Great one, Namrod. I love it. Fantasy World. I love these. So it's up to you how you want to do your villages. Now, me personally, a political map, I don't really use these kind of structured icons where you have a dwarven city, a human icons. You can, that's entirely up to you. But me personally, I actually prefer to use these markers instead. And it's easier, and you don't have to make a legend. That's the beauty of it, okay? If it's just two icons, one represents a basic city and one represents a capital, then you don't really need a legend. It's already kind of obvious that this is a capital and this is a smaller city. And that way you can kind of avoid having to make you can avoid making a legend. You don't have to have a legend for a political map, though you can. Absolutely, you can. And we can decide to do that. You can also, there's different ways of going about it. Like you can, let's go with these markers first. Let's do all the capitals first. I think the best thing to do is to make all of our capitals. So let's expand all. We'll go through our options, and we're going to want to pick an icon in the catalog that requires, that's going to be the capital. Now, each nation state is going to have a major capital, okay? So we'll go through our icon list and kind of pick ones that look kind of the best for a capital. I would assume one that's most probably decorative, a little bit pops out a little bit more. For instance, you could use this human capital right here. I think this looks kind of nice. Oh yeah, we'll get to labeling, okay? Now, when it comes to where do you place your capitals, just like with your borders, they follow natural features. Most of your capitals are probably going to be near bodies of water. So it could be at the mouth of a river. Now, the mouth of a river is where the river meets the ocean. There's a lot of cities that are on the mouth. Constantinople, Paris is right along a river. You have London, the Thames. You have the Seine in France. So most of your most largest your capitals are going to be near those bodies of water. Humans have always built their capitals and their settlements near bodies of water. It's where you get your ability to drink, to irrigate your crops. It's where you can use for sailing, for fishing, commerce. So bodies of water. So if you always have a hard time figuring out where your capitals are, it's generally near bodies of water. Okay, so it's got to be alongside a river, maybe along a coastline. Maybe you have it up in the mountains and it's accessible only by airship. Okay, those are some exceptions. With fantasy, you can do all kinds of things. Maybe there's one underground underneath a mountain, right? Lots of different options. So let's first pick a capital for the whole nation state. These are not the individual cities. It's just the capital. So what I'll probably do is put the capital in a spot that's probably away from these other borders. So that way it's not easily invaded. Look carefully here. If I put a border right here, you'll notice it's just right along the border of this other thing, right? Or if it's here, right? It's right next to this other empire, right? So it's always best to consider maybe putting your capitals maybe away from enemy or other nations, so that way they're not easily attacked. Okay, so I'm going to put this one right here in doo-doo pants. Empires are kind of doo-doo pants, so let's go ahead and put a imperial right here, and we're going to do more to decorate this. We're probably going to add a shield and heraldry to represent a house that runs that capital. Okay, so there's one capital there. Let's make another capital, and we'll put it in Dingy Bob, and I'll probably put it down here. Actually, I kind of like, let's put it right here. We'll put it right here along this edge, right here. So there's the capital of Inkarnate States, the Inkarnate States, right by Dingy Bob. And let's see, where do we want to put the Gwendolyn's? Obviously don't want to put it next to that border there. So you could put it along this, I think this is an isthmus here, or a horn right here. You can put that there, or you can put it further up right here, so it's closer to some other cities right here. You could put it along this edge here. It's wherever you want, mostly along bodies of water is you're going to want to put it. So let's put it right here. So there's the capital of the Gwendolyn's. Let's go ahead and make the capital of Muir. Let's see here, the Mumbiverse. We've got Tojan, Lys, and Manos. This is the Hand region. Okay, let's put this one up against here. I think that looks good. And I'm also putting them away from the labels of the regions because I want to put a shield above it. And for that to work, I don't want it to go over any of my text. Okay, so I'm keeping that in mind. Okay, let's see here. I think I have a capital for each one. Perfect. All right. I'm going to also increase the size of them. So I'll select every single one in the set. And I'm going to increase the size to maybe 45. So it's a nice large size, easy to see, right? Okay. Now we're going to want to pick one to be just cities. Okay. Now for me, I'm going to pick one that's very simple. I'm going to bring the size down about that size. Let's put them next to each other. They're clearly very distinguished from each other. So again, I'm going to put much of these towns, I'm going to put one or two in each region. Okay. Oh yeah, absolutely. This is a great one. Rogue 13. When thinking about regions, also think about administration, travel time. Travel takes time. Of course, the further your capital area is, like we'll need a major local administrative center. Absolutely. So I'm going to totally agree. Absolutely great suggestion. So I'm going to put a couple cities closest to the main capital. So I'll put one here, and I'm going to put another one maybe right here, and then we'll connect those with roads. And let's put a couple, let's put one here. Let's put a couple in the Marshall Dynasty. It's nice to have some next to the borders because those can act as an area of tension if there's part of a larger campaign, if maybe one empire is attacking another nation. So put two next to each other. So that way maybe you have a nice location for an area or a section where some combat or a story might unfold, okay? So let's go ahead and do that. So I've added in 3. Let's just add in a couple more. Let's just do 5 to each. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That works fine. Let's do 6. Let's do one more in this corner. That's fine. Let's put one here. Let's put 2 next to the empire, next to the capital. And then let's also put some randos in the center. Not all of them have to be by the coast. It would look weird if all the cities were by the coast. So we'll put a couple in the interior. Okay, that's what we call the interior. Put one here, put one closer in. Let's bring another one closer in over here along this regional border. And let's add a couple along the coast. One here, one there. I'll put one in the interior, another one in the interior over here. Okay, let's just keep going. We'll put them all along the interior, along the coast and the borders. There we go. I'll put one here next to the not so happy place. Spook's Grotto needs one, I swear it. Okay, let's take a step back. Sweet. All right, so we're putting those dots in. Again, for you definitely want to think about the distance, the travel that takes in between each one. Now, if you've already made your map, you don't have to worry about all that stuff because you've already put down all the locations on your map. That's why in the beginning, when I recommended when you use your own map, that you group all the objects first and then drop the opacity or bring down the contrast. Okay, and that way you're using that as a guide in the background to put all your stamps like on top. Okay. Now I didn't do that with this one. This is just kind of a rando, but that's exactly how you would do it. Okay. If you missed that part, just go back into the beginning where I mentioned how to go about doing that. Okay. Now let's take a look. Oh, you know what? We need some in Gwenlynn's. Sorry, Gwen. We forgot all about you. I'm so sorry. Naughty me. We'll throw some in the interior here. One over here I think would look good. Bingo. Okay. Let's take a step back. See how it looks. Just want to make sure that there are dots in each one. Make sure that things are close to each other. That looks good. Let's put another one rando right here. Okay. Now I'm going to save, and then we're going to go to the next part, which is we're going to create roads, because you would expect roads leading mostly to the main capital. Okay, most of the roads want to branch out from the capital and go to the other cities. So now we're going to use a different curtain type for that. Nemrod, eyes on you. Gotta make sure you pick that curtain tool. No, make sure you select the right path, and we'll get to that. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and save real quick. All right, 1 second. Sweet. All right, now I'm going to create a new path, and this is going to be roads. Now I'm going to do this a bit differently from my other paths. I'm going to probably choose white for my path. I'm going to choose a black outline so it pops out a little bit, and I'm going to bring the shadow way, way down so that at least there's a little bit of black line underneath. So that way, when it's on the white, it won't disappear. Okay, so let's just do that. 1 second here. Let me apply it on here just to see how it looks. Okay, let's bring the opacity down a hair, and let's bring it all the way to 0 or -5, because I don't want it to go on top of my icons. I want it to be underneath. Okay. Now, when you're adding the roads, again, start from the capital. So let's just do one path at a time. Let's start with a path leading to here. Okay, now when you're doing your roads, you do need to remember that they cannot be straight. This is a very zoomed out scale. Just like your rivers, they're probably going to meander a little bit. There's going to be rock formations, boulders, rivers, lakes that may not be labeled on the map or beyond the map, but they are going to get in the way of the river, or get in the way of the of the path, right? Of the road. So remember to make your paths a bit like your meandering river. So I'll show you. So we're going to go along here. We're just going to follow the coastline and connect to here. Okay. And with this same one, you might want to go along the coastline. Stop it. Remember, don't go underneath. Just like with our borders, we didn't go underneath. Just stop it and then connect back again. Like this. Oopsie, those are a little straight. I don't really care for that. Let's try that again. My mistake. There we go. There we go, some meandering. There we go. Okay. So now you have those paths. So again, just make sure that you don't go underneath the text, because you'll see now that it almost looks like there's a border going around it where the path doesn't touch, or the curtain. All right. So let's go ahead and connect to the next one. So now with this, you don't have to make another path that goes all the way to here. Just continue on the path like this. Like that. Okay. Same thing here. We're going to bring this one up, follow along the border here. Oopsie, that didn't turn out too right. Let's do it again. There we go. I'm going to stop it there so it doesn't accidentally touch the Marshall Dynasty. And then just continue the path to the next location. Oopsie, that path is just not working right. Let's do this again. There we go. All right. And let's do another one. Let's connect this one to this one. Okay. All right. Now we also might want to consider connecting this one to this one up here. So let's just go all the way down like this. I'm going to stop it at the border. I'm not going to go, well, I did go over this border, so it's okay if you want to do that. My mistake. I think it's really the text that I'm most concerned about, but let's go in this way like this. And again, just don't touch. Don't touch. Don't go underneath the text part, okay? So now you've got the roads leading to each kind of location. We're going to do that to every single one. So this capital is here. So let's just have this road travel along the coastline and go to this one. Let's go ahead and move the map over. And then we'll go over to this one and kind of connect this one. Remember, don't do straight. You want to do some curves a little bit. So that one's connected. Let's go ahead and bring this one over to here. To that one, there we go. Is there any more over here? Yep, there's one more. Let's go over here. Okay, there we go. Perfect. Let's keep going. Let's put a path that leads here and then goes to this one. And if you want, you can have a path that goes to this as well. And then let's continue this path going along to here, because you kind of want to get to this city as well. There you go. Let's just take a step back and see how it looks so far. I just want to verify that the paths look okay. Yep, that looks good. That's connected. Sweet. That looks fine. I didn't go over the text. Looks fantastic. Great. Sweet. And remember, we're just going to do this to every single one. You always start at the capital, branch out to each location. In fact, I'm going to add a couple more to make it so the distances aren't quite as intense to each location. So I'll throw in a couple more. Copy, paste. Let's throw one down here. In fact, I forgot to even put some down here. So naughty on me. I will be thoroughly punished. Let's put one in this corner there. There we go. Now we got a couple more. Nice. All right. So leading from the capital to the next location, to this location, just go all the way to each one. Remember, winding them as you go. Okay. We're doing good. Easy stuff. See, political maps are not as complex as you thought. Now, are they? Kind of easy. The only reason why it's taking longer is because I'm a big blabby mouth man. Blah, 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 blah. There we go. Let's take a look. Yeah, that looks good so far. You could even, if you wanted to, let's add in one here and one here so I can kind of connect those roads together. So let's just go here. All right, just keep going. There we go. All right, looking good. All right, now I think I am done actually with the colored paths. So I can, if I want to, go in and select every single colored path. So I'll go through my object list and select every single path that's colored. Yellow. This is a bit time consuming because you can't select individual paths for their color, unfortunately. One thing you can do though is turn everything off and then go to path, and only all your paths will show up. You'll see that only in the right panel, only paths show up. So now I can go in, click one, hold down the Alt or Command key, and select each individual colored path, because what I'm going to do with these is I'm going to flatten them to the FG layer. That is the landscape, the landmass. Okay, and the reason why I'm doing that is because I don't want that color, that outline, to be going overlapping onto the ocean. I think it's kind of tacky, but that's just my personal preference. You do not have to do that if you don't want to, but I'm going to do it. So I'm going to go ahead and everything's been selected. I'm going to go down to flatten to FG only. Okay, now I'm going to zoom in real quick, and you're going to notice that that red blur is no longer on the outside. Let me just go undo real quick, and you can see the difference. You see how that red is on the outside? There's a little bit of blue on the outside. Let me go back. Let me undo what I just did. And you notice the difference, see? Nice and crisp. That blur color is gone, and now it's nice and crisp. You have this nice hard black line, no red going over it or orange going over it. So that you only need to flatten them once you're all done with the coloring stage, okay? And remember, you don't want to flatten all your paths, just the colored ones to represent your borders. Flatten into the FG layer. So again, they don't overlap into your BG, okay? Let's keep going with our roads. We want to keep going. We're almost done. We got to do the Empire. Next, the evil Halavian Empire. You jerk butts. Let's do you now. Okay. Let's go ahead and just kind of make the roads go into each one. And with this one, again, you can just make sure that you don't go over underneath the text. Same thing with this one. We'll go here. There we go. It's a little straight right there. I don't really care for that. That's icky bidicky. No, 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 no. I do not approve. There we go. Let's go ahead and connect this one. This could be maybe an important kind of city right here, so we'll connect these. Is there any reason to use the same layer for your roads, so flattening the border paths is easier as they are the same layer with nothing else? Not that I know of. Not that I'm aware of. Well, yeah, you could put them all on the exact same layer because there is a selection tool for layering as well. If you go up here, you'll notice there's this right here, enable layer selection filter, and then you can just pick, put all the paths on one layer and then all the other stuff on different layers, and you could flatten them that way. That requires a little bit of pre-planning, but me personally, I just do it this way, but it's whatever method really works best for you. Okay, let's keep going. It's a good question, Rogue. I'm enjoying all the questions. Good stuff. I like when people ask questions. Ask more questions. Okay, let's see here. Let's have another road going through Lysana to this section. So keep going. Again, don't touch that text, right? Don't touch that text. There we go, put a path there. Gonna keep going. All right, thank you, Philip, by the way, for helping. I appreciate it. Let's keep going. And next, we're gonna be doing labeling of capitals. If you want, you can label each town if you wish. That's up to you. If you have a lot of towns, then I don't recommend it. Because it's going to take up more space, but it's really up to you. Really, the most important locations are the ones that need to be labeled, particularly to your campaign. So if you're expecting to go to this city in your campaign, then absolutely you probably want to include the label of that town. but you don't have to. It's really up to you how you want to go about it, okay? Let's keep going. Let's add another one going to this one. I just want to connect most of the towns, the cities, these cities together. What I kind of want, just to make sure they get connected. Again, nice and windy. You want to make sure that your roads aren't perfectly straight. That's a no-no. That's a naughty. There we go. Get a little bit of curve in there. All right. Let's go ahead and push this one in. Again, just avoiding the text. Connect this one. Let's make sure we connect this one. It's going to follow along the coast. Perfect. There we go. Where are we at here? Oh, there's a one up there too. So let's go ahead and take this road and go ahead and connect it into here. Ooh, kind of a straight line there, but I'm not going to worry about it too much. It's because my computer is just lagging a little bit. Okay. Let's take a step back. Let's go ahead and save. I'm going to refresh the page after the save. After you've done a certain number of saves, it's best to refresh the page. I've saved at least a dozen times here. So let's go ahead and just refresh the page after saving. Make sure you save first. Don't refresh, then save. I mean, you'll lose all your work. So definitely save first, and then we're going to refresh, and then we'll move on to the next parts. We do want to include a frame. We do want to include maybe some shields. You can put shields over the capital with the heraldic achievement on top of that. You could have the shields incorporated into the border if you wanted to. If you don't want to have the shields taking up any of the space on the map, it's up to you. We're going to do some varying things, okay, with it. All right. I'm going to go ahead and step away from this section right here. And I'm going to put a little bit of geography in here. And I'm just going to do what I did in a past map. I'm just going to use very simple fantasy battle map sand dunes. And I'm just going to use them as to represent mountain ranges, at least. Because this continent above is not included in this campaign. It's not important, okay? So what I can do is just throw in some terrain to show that this part of the map is not involved in the conflict. Okay, so just this part, these continents right here are involved in your campaign, and so I'm gonna go ahead and change the opacity, the blend mode, to luminosity, so it picks up the color beneath it. You'll notice that it has the same color beneath it. That's what luminosity does. See how it's blue here? It's white there. See how it's blue in here? See how it's red in here? Okay, so using the blend mode allows you to change the color of a stamp. So I'm going to go ahead and piece a couple of these together to kind of create some mountain ranges in here. And I'm going to make sure that the shadow part is always facing kind of the same. So let's go ahead and put a mountain range right here. I'll make sure I don't go over the border. See how the line work goes out? Don't do that. Make sure that it stays in. Let's go ahead and throw in a couple more. Let's throw in a curvy one right here. Okay, let's throw in a couple more. Let's do, not that one. Let's do this one. This one looks fine. Well, no, I don't really care for that one. Let's do this one. This one looks okay. Let's throw in another kind of range right here. And so again, I'm just showing geography on these other ones because I'm just kind of showing that these are not really involved in the main campaign. Okay, you don't have to do this part. You can use whatever style you want. The last political map I made that's on my profile, I did this same thing by adding in dunes. So I'm just doing it in this one, but you can use whatever stamps you want. If it's a fantasy world map, you can use the fantasy world mountains. You can use the fantasy world cliffs. Whatever it is you want, you can do that. Okay. Me personally, because the emphasis is on the political part, I'm not going to add in all this detail in a section that's not really involved. All right. I'm going to make it somewhat boring because I want the focus to be on the political half of the map. Okay. That's where my focus is. Now, if you don't want any geography at all, other parts in it, you could just resize the map to where only this geography shows up, only this part right here. But for me, I'm going to, again, just throw in this because I personally like it. I think it kind of looks cool. So I'll continue adding in just a couple more mountains in here, throw in a couple ranges, and then I'm going to not worry about it after that. Okay, let's do a couple more. Let's do this one. Make it a little bit bigger. There we go. Okay. And let's go put some mountain ranges over here as well on this side. Put it along here like this. Let's put another one down right here. Let's say right there looks good. Okay. All right. All right. And if we want, we can also bring the contrast down if you want change the brightness. So I bring the brightness up if you want it to kind of blend a little bit better. And I think you can also drop the opacity as well if you want to put less emphasis on it. So you notice that if I have it at full opacity, that those shadows really pop out. But if I drop the opacity down, you'll notice that they really begin to lose the contrast in them. And that's good because I want the eye to focus on the political region. I'm just going to add one more mountain range right here on this one, and we'll put it right there. Okay, there we go. Actually, you know what? When I say one more, I meant two more. We'll put it right here. There we go. Okay. So now we've done those ranges. Now let's go ahead and talk about a little bit about labeling our capitals. Okay, so there are several methods that you can do to label your capitals. One of them is just to give it a nice big text with a banner on it. Another way is to throw in a shield of some kind. We can go to Fantasy World and we can take our shields and obviously associate them with the proper color. So Blue Empire, well, guess what? You're probably gonna want to take a blue shield of your choice. Okay, let's zoom it up, and I'm gonna put it right over. Sorry, turd. I'm gonna cover you up. I'm gonna put this shield right on top, like this. I'm also gonna boost the saturation so that it really pops out that blue. And we might want to change the hue to where it kind of fits the proper blue. So maybe that one might be a better blue than the current one. If you don't like that, you can just keep it as it is, as long as it's relatively within the same color. I'm obviously going to take this down a layer. Let's take this down a layer. I'm going to select all my text and bring them down a layer. Select all text. They're at layer +3. Let's take them down to layer 1 for a reason. So that way I have some space to put some other things on top because I am covering up this town, this, and that. Okay. So we'll put a shield over each capital with the right color. And the shields can be the exact same kind of shields or they can be different. It's up to you. You want to have a different shield for each one, you totally can. So we can put one right here above this one. And I'm going to boost the saturation because I do like those nice and saturated. They got that bright red, nice popping out. Let's go ahead and grab another shield. Now, I don't know if there is orange, but we might be able to pull it out of with HSBC. Let's just find out. 1 second. Let's boost the saturation and see if we can find an orangish color. I think that works good. Let's boost the brightness a little bit. There we go. There's another one. And then we're obviously going to have to do a yellow one as well. So let's go with this one right here. All right. And we'll go ahead and put this one right over this capital like this. And of course, bring up the saturation. And we're going to change the hue. See if we can find a yellow. I'm not so sure if I can get one out of it. I can try. Let's boost the brightness a little bit and see if I can bring that yellow out. Oops, super hard. Those ones are hard to do. Let me take a step back and see. You know what? I don't care much for the location. See, there's an arch between these three shields. So I'm actually going to move things around a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and put the capital right up here, move this here, and so this one is overlapping, and I think will be a little bit better right there. I'm going to go ahead and change the capital for this one as well to right here, so that the shield is a little bit better positioned. So I'll put it right here, so it's just hanging out right there in the ocean space. Same thing with this one. We'll put the shield right here next to it instead of on top, so that way it's not overlapping the landscape. And for this one, I'm going to also change the capital to another location to where the shield is a little bit more in the ocean. It's just my personal preference, so I'll go ahead and change the capital to right here. Okay, and I'll just put another one right here. Okay. All right, and we'll go ahead and put a path that leads to that. There we go. Okay, any questions? Feel free to ask. So now we have the shields there. Now, if you feel like the shields don't look good right there, you're like, yeah, I don't really care for that. It doesn't really go well with the aesthetic. You can move those shields into the frame, okay? If you would prefer to maybe put more detail into each shield so you can really see the heraldic achievements of it, then maybe incorporate them that way. So does anyone have any personal preference? Me, I feel the shields don't match very well with the political part of the map. So does anyone care if we decide to go with making the shields into the border? Anyone have any preferences? We do need to label the capitals though, for sure, and we'll get to that part as well. So does anyone have a personal preference? Let me know. I honestly like them in the border. I think that's a kind of a good idea. Sweet. Okay, so we'll put the 4 different locations in the frame. Okay, but first let's go ahead and label each capital. Okay, hey, Aaron, 95, first time chat. Awesome. Glad that you spoke up. Sweet. Glad that you are all here. I love it. Okay, so let's go ahead and make sure that the text is going to be a little bit smaller, right? You don't want it to be the same text size as your regions, because it's not a region, right? You don't want it to be as big as your nation state text size. Of course, doesn't make any sense, right? But you do want them to pop out. So one thing you're going to want to do probably is to make sure that they are at full opacity, so all the way at 1. Okay, so that way they pop out. 2, make sure that you add a full outline that really pops out. You really want that to pop out. And if you want, you can leave the shadow on or off. It's up to you how you want to go about it. So now we'll label each capital. And we're going to call this one, what is the name of the city? The Halvian Empire. Let's just call it Hala. Okay, Hala is the major capital of this location. All right, and one thing I'm going to do is probably make sure that it doesn't touch any of the paths, and I'm going to turn off that shadow as well. So you'll have Hala. Let's go ahead and do another one. Okay, the Great White City. Okay, well, we'll call this one Ivory for now, because it's such a small space, not much to work with, but you can label it whatever you want. I'm just going to call it Ivory. Hope you don't mind, Gwen. Gwenphil. Let's go with this next one. We'll call it Mati, because I am the dictator, as you have so nicely said about me. All right. The next capital here will be Mures. Okay, now, one thing that I probably will want to consider doing is that I'm going to select these again and probably make the border of the text a little bit wider, so that way they're a bit, they stick out a little bit more. So watch what happens when I boost the outline of these capitals. You notice that that white path kind of makes the black part pop out more, right? And that's really nice. okay? You can also include an object shadow that's white around each one of these capitals if you want. You could absolutely do that. You could just select one, go to that hamburger one, and go select all stamps like this. So it will select all those capitals. And then just go to Shadow, Object, White Shadow. Go ahead and bring it in, and that way that will pop, that capital will pop out a little bit with white. Okay? That, or you can just paint underneath a little whiter if you want them to pop out. So you'll notice, see how that white made these really, 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 really pop out. Okay? Now you can label each individual city if you want. I'm probably not going to label every single one, but I'll label a couple and I'll show you how I do it. I'm going to make it even smaller and I'm going to drop the opacity. Okay? Because these cities aren't as important as the larger cities. So I'm just going to pick maybe one or two cities in each section and label them. So we'll call this one Do, Cut, and then we'll go to another one. And the ones that I'm picking are the ones that have the most crossroads. See, this city is kind of important because it's a major crossroads. Same thing with this one, so I can call this one Mimi. Okay. All right. Let's go with, we got to at least label one. Let's call this one Marshall or Brian. There we go. The city of Brian. All right, let's keep labeling these cities. Let's go with this one. We'll call this one Gwen. Okay, let's keep going. This looks like a somewhat important place right here, so we'll call this one Hem. All right. Yay, I get a city. Of course you do, my good man. We would never deny you your right to have a city labeled after you. That's ridiculous. We'll call this Manly Man. Manly Man. I don't know what that is, but we're going to call it Manly Man. All right, there we go. Let's see here. What else we got? Maybe we can label just one more right here. Let's call this one right here. Let's call this one Feet, because, hey, why not? There we go. Let's see, where else do we have one? Let's put a couple more in here. Let's call this Hippie. Okay, there you go, each section. Ooh, let's go with one up here as well. Let's call this Dole. There we go. All right. Let's take a step back and see how that looks so far. Yeah, I like that. I think the white out borders might be a little too thick. You know, I might want to bring them down just a little bit more. I maybe might have overdone it a bit, of course. Let's just bring that down just a little bit. There we go. I still want them to pop out, but not crazy, not cray-cray, okay? Brian needs a temple in that city, the temple of very naughty boy. 100% I concur. You have my vote. You immediately win. You get my vote immediately. Okay, let's go ahead and save, and we're going to do the last kind of step. I mean, this part, most of it has been done now. You've done the region that has nothing to do with the central conflicts within the campaign. We've labeled each section. We've given them regions, cities, capitals, and now we want to make a border. Now, the reason why I'm adding a border is because a political map is a specific kind of map. It's not like a battle map, right? I don't normally put borders or frames around battle maps. It makes more sense to put a frame around maybe a world map, a Parchment World map, maybe a central region where most of your campaign takes place at. You can put a border around that one, a border around your cosmology map, a border around whatever. So knowing where, like what to put, when to put a border is kind of important. Those are the maps. Now there's a couple ways to make borders, but the easiest one is to use the mask tool. Okay? Now when it comes to using the mask tool, you have to factor in that there is a blue outline around. So if I use that at mask mode, I'll have those same mask effects. Now that's something that can be fixed. We can change that to where it'll work better. So we'll do that. I'm going to go ahead and first go to the grid And I'm going to change the offset a little bit. Let me check this side. And I want to make sure the offset is set right. Because with the grid, you want to make sure that it's lined up properly. So I'm going to move this a little bit this way. Make sure that the path, yep, there. Let me check down here. That looks fine. And let me check right here. Okay, that works just fine. Okay. So now you're going to go ahead and just take the mask tool, the grid shape, size 1. Okay. And I'm going to go 1 space away from the border. Okay, so I'm going to go down with the add mode like this. All right, now don't worry about the mask setting, the stroke settings yet. We're going to change all that because when you're doing borders, you have to factor that in. So let me go ahead and just first make the border with the mask tool. Super easy to make borders with the mask tool. Let's go ahead and subtract that. Oopsie, I want it 1 away from the edge there. This is the easiest way to make a frame that I know of. Let's go all the way down this way. And we're going to paint the frame too, whatever color or texture, whatever it is you want. We'll go in like this. Okay, there we go. And I don't personally like the blue mask effects, so of course we will change that. Let's just take a step back and just see how it looks with the border on it. Let me turn off that path tool, or turn off the grid. A bit thick, but I think it works fine. Let's go ahead and change the mask effects. I don't really need a blue outline. I think that's not necessary to have. It's a political map. So instead, we'll just do black. And we're going to bring the opacity way, 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 way down. And I'm adding it because I want to use mask effects to my advantage to kind of give a little more detail. So mask effects are more than just your coastlines. They can also use contrast to make things pop out, like your frame can pop out, your continents are popping out. So I'm going to change the shadow. Now you'll notice that there's a nice shadow effect around the frame as well as the continent. So it kind of helps to make that frame pop out. Now some of you will notice that, well, wait a minute, this part of the landscape is connected to the frame. Well, hey, that's what the paths tool is for. Go to segments, black, give it a little bit of a shadow, okay? And you're going to do segments, and you're going to click, hold, and go down like that, okay? Now we're going to have to change the settings a little bit, okay? We'll bring down the width size. I'm going to bring up the opacity. I'm going to change the path a little bit. Add this, bring in the blur. There we go. And now you have a line that separates your border there. Same thing here, okay? Just go in, path tool, shift key, and connect the lines. Same thing here. Connect the path tool. And now you've fixed your line problem that you had right there, okay? That same thing here, we'll probably just do the same thing here. Put in that path tool. There we go, perfect. Let's go ahead and check and see if there's anything else that we might have missed, just to verify. Not push the path down so it's going over it properly. Let me take a look. We got one there, nothing there, got those two, and I think nothing connects over here. That looks good. Okay. Now you have to pick a color that you want for your frame. Okay, so I'm just going to pick this hard white color for now. Set it to FG layer 1, and I'm just going to go in and paint in the whole frame this kind of white color. Now make sure that you don't go onto the actual landscape. So what I do is use that grid tool, because I used the grid tool to make the frame. Therefore, I can use the grid tool with the paintbrush to paint it. Okay? Let's go ahead and do this. Looking good so far. Okay. All right. There we go. Now let's take a step back, just see how it looks. Yep, I dig it. So far, so good. That white looks nice. It contrasts against the dark of the stroke line. The shadows look fine. It matches with the stroke around the land masses. So overall, I think this frame kind of works well. Now, this is the simplest type of frame that you can make. Okay, there's all kinds of ways to make frames, all kinds of unique decorations, so many things you can do. You can also make a frame with stamps. Now, I have next month, we will be showing you how to make your own frames with both the mask tool and the stamp tool. So I'll show you how to make those really unique, awesome frames. Nemrod already knows how to make incredibly unique frames, great maps that they've been making, so they know very well that frames are super fun. Frames allow you to really bring out your creativity. You can put backstory into a frame. You can put in details. You can put in text, lore, add in people, shields, all kinds of fun stuff can go into frames. I don't want to go into too much detail about that because we're going to save that for the next stream, or for not the next stream, but the stream that's going to be taken on next month. But frames they're wonderful. They're so much fun. So real quickly, I'll just do a couple more tricks that you can do to decorate your frame. If you can paint it all different ways. Now, the most simplest way to paint your map is with the basic cube or the basic chessboard. So if I go on like this, I can paint each corner. That's a bit too dark. Let's go with a little bit, not too dark. That's so dark. Let's go with a lighter color, this gray right here. And you can go in and just create the checkerboard or the check that goes around, because that's on a lot of frames of maps, is this kind of checker format. Now, the way that you do this is that you might want to consider turning your grid on, because sometimes you might not get exactly equal one space in between each one. So start on each end moving inward like this, okay? So start inward, each section, moving inward. Now for this one, it worked just fine. See, it had the perfect amount of spaces. It worked out just fine. This is the simplest decorating border that I can think of with the with painting, okay? But there's a lot of different ways that you can do frames. I mean, a lot. So for now, let's just go ahead and do this one. We'll do the easy one. And if the border is too big, you can totally change the size of the grid to make your border a lot thinner, okay? So let's just keep going into the centers at each end, going inward, just to make sure that I don't actually do it wrong, okay? We'll go in. And as you can see here, there's going to be two in the center. And in fact, I'll just do those two right in the center, so that way I know where they are. So we'll go in, and I'll make sure to turn the grid off. And I'll show you some really cool tricks on how to put the grid on your map, but only in certain areas of your map. Super cool trick, and I'll show you how to do that in just a moment. So let's just first decorate our frame. Again, this is the simplest way to make a frame. You go onto Google Images, you can go to Pinterest, and you'll notice that a lot of maps use this kind of frame style because it just represents, it's just a design that a lot of mappers use. So very, very simple design, okay? And we're gonna put in these shields as well. We're going over our 2-hour limit. Nobody minds if we go for another maybe 30 minutes or so? Have I captured you? All right, okay. I'm gonna save. Let's go do that real quick first because I've done a lot of changes. It's always good to save after you've done a lot of changes. And we'll also at the end put in we'll put in some filters as well. So there are a lot of different ways to kind of do this frame thing. I'll show you some other techniques as well real quick. We'll decorate maybe just a little bit more of the frame just for fun. But first we're going to save, and I'm going to do some changes to the grid. And I'll show you some fun little tricks. Just one moment while we get that loaded up. We're also probably going to label our oceans as well. We'll do that as well. Okay, so let's go ahead to our grid real quick. I'm going to show the grid, and let's see here. We are at this. Let's go with, change this. It says 40 here. So I'm going to go with a larger number. I'm going to go with 80 right here. And you'll notice that it quartered, you see how it quartered those, the boxes. So there's now 4 little grids within those little ones. So now you can do a little bit more designs on your frame with this technique. So if you want, you can go in like this and you can delete a corner like this. You can add in a little bit more detail. You can add in to make your frame look a little bit more unique. So just one moment while I use that subtract tool and kind of maybe delete some corners, add in extra details on your corners. There's a lot of different methods and techniques that you can use to make your map interesting. So I can go with the add mode now, go in and put another one right here like this. And you'll notice, you see how the frame changes, right? It's coming to life now. You're changing elements of the frame. So really there's a lot of different options that you can go with. Lots of cool, unique ideas. I'm just going to go ahead and remove this, but I wanted to show you that by using the mask tool, you can come up with all kinds of really interesting, unique designs, and your frame can be very different. Like sometimes what I like to do is to have my frame not be connected in every section. So if I wanted to, I could remove this section right here and just have corner pieces that decorate my frame. Okay, so be creative. Go ahead and just be really creative. Come up with unique ideas. Play around with things. There's so many techniques with making your frames. Okay, I'm just gonna go with this one because it just kind of looks interesting to kind of have little segments that are separate. So we'll do that. I'm just gonna do this real quick. There we go. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and fix this path right here as well. You'll notice that I had to cut that off, so I'll just move it a little bit to the side there. Okay, and I'm also going to remove some of the islands right here. They're a little too close to my frame and I don't really care for them, so I'm just gonna get rid of them. A little bit here, I'm gonna get rid of this island as well. There we go. Okay, let's take a step back and let's turn off our grid. You know, I kind of like this design. I think that works just fine. Again, lots of options. Okay, now we want to add in our a legend that kind of represents each kind of nation. So what we'll do is we'll move these out of the way, and what works best when you're making a legend or you're putting a place to put your heraldic shields, it's nice to find the negative space in your ocean and along the border. So you'll see there's a nice negative space right here. This space right here is kind of, I think, perfect for putting in your label and your frame. So it's a nice section right here to work with. So let's go into the catalog and pick up some. Here we go. This will work just fine. We'll go with this one. We're going to make it fairly big. I'm just going to put it right here in the corner. A couple options that you can do here. You can just make it go completely over the border to where it connects with the border like this. You can put it in the negative space of the ocean. You can put it down at the base, at the bottom, like this. So lots of different options. For me personally, it's the negative space in the ocean is where I really decide where to put a lot of stuff. So there's this nice negative space right here. That works perfect, okay? So what I'll go now is I want to put this down a layer, put these on top like this. And you know what, let's have some fun. Let's have them overlap a little bit. Overlapping is great to add a little bit more depth and more uniqueness. So we'll go ahead and throw on each shield. We'll have it overlapping. And if it's not wide enough, that's fine. Go over to transform and you can probably change the width and the height so they're long enough to where it fits all the different shields in this space. Let's have them be just like this to where they're not going over this frame part. So we'll go back over, we'll change the height, or I'm sorry, the width again, a little bit longer. There we go. I want to fit each one in this space. Let's keep going. This one all the way over to here, this one over to here. There we go. Now they should all fit inside of that little space there. Perfect. Okay. There we go. And I'm going to change the height on this one a little bit so it's around the same height as these other shields because it just looks a little odd. I'm going to space these out properly. There we go. Awesome. Okay. Now there are other things that you can do as well. It's always nice to decorate a little bit, to add a little bit of decoration. Something I like to do is what's called a watermark. And a watermark is like a very low opaque kind of symbol below. I'm sure some of you know what a watermark is. So what I'll do is I'll probably go into Parchment World and I'm going to pick some heraldry and I'm going to create again what's called a watermark. So what I'll do is make sure that these are on top. I'm going to turn off the clipping mask because they're not necessary and then drop the opacity to create a watermark. So it looks like it's so opaque that when I try to add text on top of it, it won't be sticking out so much to where it kind of draws the eye away from the text. Okay, so again, these are called watermarks. Okay, I'm going to remember the opacity of this symbol. It's at 11. Let's bring it down to 10 so it's easy to remember. Let's go ahead and pick another one and we'll have it facing the other way. Let's put an owl. Okay, again, turn off that clipping mask. Let's zoom in the size a little bit more. There we go. So now you have an owl over there. In fact, I actually would prefer a different one. Let's go with this one. I like this one. So we'll put this one in this corner over here. So you have this nice watermark. Again, clipping mask. Bye-bye. There we go. And I think I'm going to change the width of this one just a little bit. So it's relatively around the same size as this one. Let's go with, there we go. Okay. And then let's add one more watermark in the center. Okay. And let's go with a different symbol here. Let's not use this heraldic stuff. Let's maybe use these keys right here. Let's put that right there in the center. Turn off the clipping mask. Perfect. Okay. So now you have your watermarks on your banner. Let's take a zoom out and take a look. Yeah, I think that looks just fine. So now we're going to label each country. And so we're going to probably use some banners to do that. So let's not use banners with a clipping mask. Let's go to Fantasy World and just use non-clipping mask banners. Let me type in banner real quick. There we go. Let's use these ones for now. Let's just double check to make sure that they work properly. And I'm sticking all within the same kind of theme, kind of this goldish color. You got the gold of this thing. You've got the kind of somewhat similar color scheme in the border. So throwing in the same in here. Let's go with a smaller banner that doesn't have a lot of flourishings, that pops out too much. Let's put it up a layer. Let's go with layer 3, and let's also make it a little bit wider or higher. So I'll boost the height. There we go. I'm going to include an object shadow so the banner pops out. And I'm going to do the same thing with these as well. Let's go ahead and see what it looks like if I select every single one of these shields and pop in an object shadow just to make them pop out a little more. Okay. Yeah, I think that works fine. Let's also do the same thing with this object shadow. We're going to make it a little bit smaller. There we go. And now it kind of pops out a little bit more on the map. Nice, okay? And you would expect, you want it to pop out because you want it to draw the eye. Now let's take each one of these banners and put them along each one of these. And we want to leave enough room to put an icon in each shield. And it can be just this very simple icon. It doesn't have to be crazy or anything like that. It can just be very, very simple. So let me go ahead and throw this one on. There we go. Now you have each one of those. Now let's throw on each symbol. Not complicated, easy to do. We're just going to go down and we're going to pick just a simple icon for each one. Now, if you are doing your own map, you're going to want to factor in which one is each one. So with me, an empire, I kind of expect like maybe a crazy kind of imperial symbol. This nice crown right here might work well. Oh wait, sorry, that is the red. Let's go with blue. My mistake. Let's push that over to the blue. Okay, and blue and yellow are good complementary colors. They go well together. So let's do that one. Let's go with the red one, and let's choose, let's just say that we'll just use another crown one. That's fine. We'll put this right on top right here. So there's another one. Let's go ahead and keep picking each symbol that you want to represent your empire. Let's go with yellow. Let's go with this kind of scorpion one. And I'm going to select each one of these and boost the saturation, just like I boosted the saturation of those shields, so they really pop out. Let's add one more icon to the shield, to Gwen, and let's go with a dragon. I think that works well. Let's boost the saturation and maybe change the color of the dragon to a different color. Let's go with purple and orange maybe. I don't know. Let's put it there first, and then we can change the hue and see which color works best with it. I kind of like green. Let's go with that. All right. So now you have each empire with its heraldry, with its color, and then obviously label each one. You can, again, just call it by the name each one, or you can delete it and just have the symbols there. It's really up to you how you want to go about it. Really up to you. So from here, let's go ahead and just label each one. So the blue was called the Halvarian Empire. We don't have to call it an empire in this one. We can just call it Halvarian. And again, we're going to change the outline. We're going to change the shadow. We're going to change the spacing and the line height. There we go. Now we're going to bring the size way down so it fits into the banner. Make sure it's set a layer above, of course. There we go, Halvarian. It fits in there just fine, or Halvaria if you want. Next is the Inkarn states, so we'll just call it Inkarn. Of course, you'll have labels and names for all of your own things. Let's see here, Gwenlands. There we go. And then the yellow is the mirror. Okay. We're almost done. Thank you, people, for bearing with me here. Okay, mirror. Let's take a step back and just see how it looks. Oh, yeah, I dig. Yep, that was cool. So far, so good. Let's go ahead and save that. And let's add in the last bit of stuff, which is just labeling your oceans. Okay, and then we can maybe throw in just a couple things in that legend. We'll probably distinguish roads, paths, regions, cities, and a capital. Okay, we are going to throw in a legend, so we'll do that. I'm going to probably group every single thing on the legend so that when I decide to work with text and the little icons, I won't accidentally select the legend, because I'm sure all of you have experienced this before. You're working on a map and you're trying to select this one thing, but you keep selecting the larger things that are in the way. So we'll show you how to fix that issue. So let's select every single thing except for this right there. We don't want to select those paths. Unselect these paths here. So only that's selected. We're going to group it. Okay. So I'm going to relabel this group legend. Okay, perfect. And we might want to put another banner that labels it. So we could go with this banner right here, put it down at the bottom, just right there, and then type in legend. Let's just do all caps. Just call it legend. Oopsie, not working here. What's happening here? My mistake. There we go. Legend. Oopsie, I wanted all caps. Actually, let's do that. There we go. Let's increase the size, the bold, and then let's increase the spacing. There we go. So it kind of fills up the majority of the banner. You could even make it bigger if you want. One more. Now it's nice and big. Takes up the majority of the banner. That's perfect. Okay, now you have a legend there. Perfect. All right, now let's go ahead and select all our icons. I'll just select that one. There's a path right here. I'll put this right here. Let's take this path, copy, paste, put it right here. Let's grab this one, copy, paste, and put it right here. Okay. All right, so let's start with the most important things first. Let's go with the icons first. So let's do this. And what might be helpful is to turn the grid on if you want to make sure that things are lined up. So let's turn the grid on. Let's bring it up to layer 5. And you'll see now that I have the grid on top, and I'm going to use it as a guide to where I place my stuff. Okay, so I'll put one here. I'll put one right here. Let's also take a path. Let's increase the size so it's a little bit bigger. I'm going to do a segment. I'm going to keep it on this line right here. Put it right there. Okay, make sure it's up a layer. I want to make sure that path is all the way up above. There we go. Make sure it's a flat line and increase the opacity so it can be seen a little better. And then let's go ahead and do the same thing with this one. Make sure we line it up right. Hold down Shift. There we go. Okay. And let's go ahead and bring these in a little bit closer. One there. And bring these in a little bit closer. Okay. And now we can go in and label each one. So let's go ahead and change all our curve, our line height and spacing. Turn off our bold. And make sure it's not in all caps. So capital. And just put that right underneath and use that grid to line things up. So capital, city. There we go. This is going to be a road. Oopsie, an ode. It's going to be an ode, my friends, an ode. We got road, and we're going to say regional border. Okay. There we go. Let's go ahead and turn that path tool, or I'm sorry, let's turn the grid off. There we go. Nice. So now you have, your legend, and you can add as much as you want. This is kind of just the simplest way of going about it. Okay, so you have that. All right, sweet. Now you have, and let's just make sure that are these watermarks a little too much? We can go ahead and bring the opacity down on these if you want to make sure that that it doesn't overwhelm. You want to be able to see the road, want to see the regional border, and these things. These are the things that pop out. The watermarks are just there so that you have some design inside of your legend. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on to another step where I would love to let's go ahead and show you a quick technique with the grid, okay? And how to make the grid only show up in certain sections of your map. So turn that grid back on, okay? Let's go ahead and double this. Let's go with 40. I think I want my grid spaces to be bigger, so let's type in 20. Okay, so now my grid spaces are quite large. Okay, now I'm probably going to have to change the offset to where the grid, I want to line up the grid properly. So let's go with that. Now the next step is to go ahead and export your map. So export the map. It's at 3K, so I'll just leave it at 3K. Save image. Okay, now you have a grid on this map. Next step, go to your brush tool, open up the catalog. You're going to upload what you just exported, okay? 1 second. Make sure you have no filters on when you do this, by the way, because you'll double up on filters. So just keep this in mind. How to create political maps. You're going to upload that same thing. This is just a scale, so ignore that. You're going to upload it, okay? Wait for it to upload. All right. Just give it a moment. It's going to take a second to load. Thanks for bearing with me. Select that. Now you're going to want to check the size to make sure the size is correct. And I think you should be able to put it at 200. Let me verify. No, it might have to be 300. Let me just double check. Nope, it's not. 3,000. That might be a problem. No, maybe it's 250. Let me just verify here what the right size is. This part can be kind of confusing to get it to be the right size to line up. Okay, there we go. I think it's at 2. 1 second. I think that's lined up. Okay, I think it is. Let's turn off the grid and we're just going to verify this real quick. Now, you've got that selected. Now, make sure it's set to BG. Drop the opacity down and bring the brush size up. We're going to use a circle brush, okay? And I'm just going to go ahead and paint to where, and let's bring the opacity all the way up. You'll notice that the grid only shows up on the ocean part, okay? So this is a great technique to kind of get rid of the grid on your land, but only have it on your BG layer. And honestly, I think the grid just looks really interesting that way when you do it that way. Adding in the grid into these spaces really helps to give a little bit more detail, okay? Now let's keep going. We're going to add just a couple more things real quick. I'm going to add 2 more things, and then we're going to be done. One thing I'd like to do is just remove maybe the blue in the outline here. I kind of feel like it might be more fun to make the whole outside black, and that way it will cause it to pop out more. So I'm just going to test and see how it looks. So please bear with me for a moment here. I'm going to make sure I put the grid to the proper, what I had it before as well. So let's go back here. Let's type in a 40. I believe that was the proper grid size. Let me verify here. And let me get the offset correct. There we go. Offset is correct. Excellent. Let's also subtract these sections right here. I don't want this stuff to be popping out, so I'll remove that. Okay, we'll add that. So make sure that there's nothing popping out outside of my border. Oh, you see I did screw it up a little bit. I can see I didn't line it up right. Oops. Oopsie. Now you at home won't make that mistake now, will you? Not me. Yeah, sometimes the lining up part can be kind of hard. Okay. Now I'll turn that grid back off. You'll notice where I made the mistake right here. You'll see that it kind of went right down. I'll fix that as well. First, let's go ahead and just put some black. And the reason why is because normally when you're you have a picture that you print out, you normally put a black or a white matte frame on the outside. So that way the eye will have a rest. So I'm just going to put an entire black around the edge here. Now you don't have to do this if you don't want to, because the frame is broken at each corner like that. This might not work, okay? But different techniques, all right? Let's go ahead and put that on there and just see how it looks. I might like the actual blue there better. If you want, I can let you all decide that, okay? First, I'll just put it all on and just see how it looks first. If it doesn't look pretty, we won't keep it. We move. Let's take a step back here. You know, I think the black looks okay. I think the black looks nice. It doesn't cause the ocean to bleed out beyond the border, and I like that. It further encapsulates the map, so I think that works out great. Let's go back to texture. I'm going to quickly fix the error that I made over here because duty pants over here made a mistake. Naughty, naughty. So to go in and just kind of paint this section and kind of remove the parts that I kind of boofed on. They are naughty person, you're naughty. Okay, let's take a look here. Other sections that I might have boofed up on. Yeah, right there. It's okay. And it's all right if you're, it is perfectly okay if you paint and remove some of the border, the grid. It's okay if you erase some of it. In fact, you'll end up doing that once you start labeling your ocean. So let's get to that part. Let's get to that last part. We're going to label our oceans. Okay, so let's just label the ones with the most space. So there's one right here, nice and large. Me personally, I want my text to be completely separate from the labels of all the other stuff. So I'll go with no shadow and we'll go with a white color instead. We'll change the opacity. Oopsie, that is the size. We're going to make the white and we're going to change the opacity, make it pop out more. We're going to increase the size. There we go. Let's make sure that it's at the right angle. And we'll call it deep blue. That's just what we'll call it, deep blue. Now, just like I labeled my the Halvarian Empire, I put some spacing to fill up. You're going to want to do the same thing with your oceans. Go ahead and increase the spacing and then increase the line height like this. And if you also want to, you can space like this to have them offset from each other. Up to you if you want to do that or not. And once you've done that label part, now go in with that blue texture and just delete all the lines that's touching the label. Okay, so this way your lines, just like the line work inside here, doesn't touch any of the labels. Same thing here. Just go over the text with that blue ocean texture so that way the grid is not touching. Okay, let's go ahead and just add another ocean in here. We'll call this the Southerly Ocean or the Southerly Sea. Works just fine. We'll put it right there. Don't forget, go in and make sure to remove any line work that is pretty much touching the text. Okay, there you go. Let's add in one more ocean. Do we have some room here? Let's call this one the Abysmal Sea, or Abysmal, oh no, is it one L? There we go, Abysmal Sea. We'll put that up here in this corner, and again, take that same blue and just put it right over it. There you go. So that way it doesn't get in the way. Okay, all right, so we're almost done. Last thing is you might want to have a label for the whole area. So if you want, you might want to come up with a banner that is up here at the top like this, going over everything, and it's the label, it's maybe the name of your place. If you want, you don't have to do that. You could put the label closer to the legend if you feel that's better. Totally up to you how you want to go about that. So I'm going to quickly save, and then we'll jump right into filters, and then we will call it good. Okay, sweet. Yeah, some pretty easy stuff, not complex. You know, obviously, if you're doing this yourself, it's going to go a lot faster than 2 hours because I'm not gabbing my gob off. But it's way easier to make political maps than you think. You think, well, it's kind of complex. No, it's not. It's a step-by-step process, you know, and I'll quickly review that. You start with take whatever map that you want to be a political map. So you have a fantasy, regional, parchment, whatever map. Open that. You're going to clone that first, right? Because you don't want to, you know, delete the world map with all its detail. Clone it. Once you've cloned it, open that map. Okay? Select everything on that map. Group it. Call it everything. Drop either the opacity or the contrast of everything down quite a bit, so that way you can see the land shapes, you can see the POIs, at least faded a little in the background. With that, then you can use that as a guide to determine where your border lines are and where to put your icons and stuff like that. Okay? Once you put everything, once you've kind of done, put the dotted lines for your borders, you're next, of course, going to want to take a path, blur it, and pick the color that you want, right? So we outlined every single edge with the path. We filled it in with a blue color or whatever color we wanted. We made sure the opacity is way down because we wanted that border to pop out, right? That red, this blue, that orange, that pops out, okay? Once you've done that part, then you go in and you paint in the white to make sure that the text of the label of the nation state pops out and there's white in the center. And again, that kind of is this like pillow-like shading where you have dark blue right here, lighter blue right here, and even lighter white right here, right? That's the transition, okay? Same thing we did here, right? Orange, light orange, all the way to white, okay? Now, the last step is just to go ahead and add in your filters. And there's a lot of different ways that you can go about doing your filters, okay? One thing is clarity is always nice because it really causes things to pop out. See what happens when I turn it off? Now, if you like the fadedness, then don't do clarity. Just turn that off. Do something else. We can delete that. Let's say that you want more artifacts in your map. Notice how there's not a lot of contrast in the ocean. Notice that there is, it's very light, okay? You can go in, add a new filter, and you can go in, let me zoom out real quick so you can see it when I apply the filter. One moment. You can go into texture filters, and you can go old paper, okay? And you'll notice that the old paper puts some artifacts onto it. So watch what happens when I turn it off. It's a little bit cleaner with it off. But if I turn it back on, boom, there are the artifacts that you might be looking for to give a little bit more detail into your background. You can change it to stretch, repeat. You can change the blend mode. You can make it to where there's a lot of artifacts or very little artifacts. Let's say that you want the artifacts to only be in the ocean. You can flatten it to the BG, flatten to BG, confirm, right? Now only those artifacts will be on the, wait a minute, they seem to be on the FG as well. I don't think that works. That's a naughty. Oops, it didn't flatten to the BG. That's not cool, man. But old paper, there's a lot of different methods that you want to go with. Me personally, it just depends on the map that you're using, okay? This is a simple map, so maybe you don't want a lot of old paper on there. Maybe you want to give it a reddish color. Go ahead and add a parchment, you know, bring it down. Now you have kind of an overall kind of a little bit of a hint of red into the map. You can do that. There's so many different ways and filters and which way you want to go about it. Personally, I liked that parchment. I thought that looked kind of nice. It kind of gave it a little bit some purple when you go into the blues right here, but I want to bring it down enough to where at least the colors are popping out. So if you do parchment, don't have it obviously at 100%. Let's see what will happen if I bring parchment all the way up to the top. Let's give it a second to load. It will be a little slow. You'll kind of notice that it's too much, right? The colors no longer pop out the way you want it to. So if you do use color filters, make sure that you bring them down to an opacity to where they're not, making these colored parts blend too much, okay? But parchment does add a little bit of red into it, and it gives it a nice feel to it. Okay, again, you can go in and add clarity if you want those things to pop out. See, now I've got that red with that clarity, so it's nice and pops out. Lots of different things that you can do. We can go into each one of these larger labels, and we can bring the opacity down a little bit to where it's not quite as dark. So I'll bring these down a little bit more. I think that looks a little bit better. I didn't really like them at 100% black. This looks kind of weird, and we might want to consider doing, let's take a look at these. I think these should be okay. So that should be all right. So lots of different tricks lots of different methods, lots of different things that you can do to make your map more interesting and unique is the filters. Filters are primo. Absolutely use them. There's only one more thing left that I can think of that you could possibly do, and that is to paint the deeper parts of your ocean. But if that doesn't interest you, you don't have to do that. Painting your oceans are really easy. You just take the same color of the ocean already and just drop the opacity. That's it. Okay, and you bring the softness all the way up, and then the size, and then you just go in, and again, it's that operation thing. Don't touch the borders, and just go in like this and paint in only the darker, paint in only the deep parts. Okay, so I'll put some here, like this. It's up to you how you want to go about this. You don't have to. I'm just going to paint them in just so you see what it looks like. There are a lot of options. I cannot tell you how many options there are when it comes to things that you can do in your map. So many options. Okay, so if you want, you can paint your ocean. Me personally, I don't personally like that because it's a political map, and I think simplicity is best when it comes. The more details, I kind of would think of that more with world maps, regional maps. There's more detail. Okay, so I think that's it. I'm just going to go ahead and save. I'm going to do a real quick Q&A for maybe just a couple minutes, and then we'll call it good. I'm going to upload this, of course, to YouTube, and people can watch it. I hope this was helpful to people. Political maps are a lot of fun, and they look super cool. Great thing to give to your players so they can be like, hey, look, we're in this empire. So many great things political maps can be used for. You can use it to tell the backstory of your campaign. You can use it when you're in, let's say your campaign is about political strife, nation building, empires, invasions, defending against an invasion. Political maps they're beautiful for all of that stuff. So don't be afraid to clone one of your world maps and whatever style it is, and go ahead and apply these techniques to that map so that you have a political map for your campaign. I'll also be sure to make sure that this map is clonable so that you can go ahead and clone and edit this for yourself if you want to go over and see how it was made. All right, well, hey, that's it, everybody. No one's asked any questions, so I think that means people are good. All right, sweet. Well, I think, oopsie, I just noticed something. I did a booby right here. Naughty! Look at that. I painted it on here. Oh, I'm such a bad person. Let me fix this here. Naughty! I'd hate for you to have to clone and edit a pooey map. That's no good. Great. Well, hey, everybody. Thank you so much, everyone. Super awesome. Really glad everyone was here. Real quick, I just want to mention that what the streams are for the rest of the week. On the 25th, which is Wednesday, we're going to do how to create rivers. Excited for that, to show you guys how to make rivers. And the following day, after that, Thursday, the 26th, we're going to be doing how to create mountain ranges. All right. Hey, thank you, everybody, so much. Merry map making with your maps. Please stay safe and healthy. And I will see you all on Wednesday. Auf Wiedersehen.